Hello everyone, my name is Miguel Moreno and I'm going to talk about my research project that is still under construction. Have you heard of breeding biology? Well, breeding biology is a broad research area that addresses questions like why does an organism need to breed? Or when is the best time of the year for an organism to breed? Or even how much offspring does an organism need to guarantee the survival of a species? In general, we can say that breeding biology is the primary need for comprehension of life history evolution of animals, and it is useful not just to increase our knowledge of the natural world, but to understand the responses of wild animals to different scenarios, like the famous climate change, for example. Life history theory states that animals have developed the capacity to respond to certain environmental cues or stimuli by breeding, and this capacity is just a strategy to fill up the energy requirements for reproduction. We have known for a very long time that food abundance depends on environmental cycles like temperature or rain. Thus, to know when is going to be enough food, animals need to be sensible to some environmental cues. With the pass of the time, with many generations, organisms synchronize their physiology with these environmental signals. For example, we now recognize that organisms from temperate ecosystems, like those at high latitudes, synchronize the time to raise their young with favorable climatic conditions, like in spring, for example. Most environmental variables are dynamic, they are not static, and they can change a lot during the year or even spatially. Some of the most important environmental cues includes the light cues, for example, the photoperiod, the duration of day, and any kind of radiation like the UV rays. Temperature cues include the maximum and minimum values that temperature could take in a particular site. Water cues, that includes the rainfall, humidity, transpiration, and others. And cloudiness of the cloud cover concentration pattern, which is highly related with rainfall. In the figure at the right, you can see a map of Colombia, which is overlapped with a global climatic model of cloudiness. The different colors are differences in cloud cover concentration through the year, so particular localities with contrasting colors may have 1 or 2 months or difference in the concentration of clouds, which is highly correlated with rainfall patterns, as we just said. Now please let the figure to be a calendar year. We can draw the rainy season of a particular site 1. We can overlap then a breeding season of a single species in the area in red. Now, if you think in another locality, for example 30 kilometers away, which is geographically not too distant, we can draw the rainy season. And we see a 2-month shift in the pattern of rain. If we draw the breeding season in the second site, we will see the same shift for the species. In this case, this difference may cause major effect at the population level. If local populations are synchronized with the local climatic conditions, this means that there will be a mismatch in the breeding season and the life cycles of these two populations of animals. This scenario is particularly called a temporary barrier. So, breeding birds from one population that move to other, they will probably not find other reproductive birds. Consequently, the change of breeding among these two populations is low. As a result of reduced breeding likelihood the gene flow among them will also be reduced. The consequence of this will be genetic differentiation, or as we call it, structure. Genetic structure between populations mean that each single population is taking their own evolution pathway. If this dynamics continues for many generations and differentiation accumulates, eventually two new species may arise. These are the predictions of the asynchrony of seasons hypothesis, which is considered one of the less studied speciation models. There is evidence of a correlation between climatic asynchrony and genetic structure at the continental level, but this phenomenon has not been studied at regional level, and no literature is available for the neotropics. To fill this gap, I investigate the role of dynamic asynchrony on the dynamics of ecological and evolutionary process in bird populations from this Magdalena Valley, as a model to test the asynchrony of season hypothesis. With this study, I hope to understand how important the environmental signals are for tropical birds, especially with these Colombian birds, and to know what exactly are the cues used by birds in the Magdalena Valley. Thank you very much for hearing.